So, like Venerable Children and our five newly ordained bhikshunis, I was also in Taiwan for the triple platform ordination, where I had the tremendous privilege to serve as the Chinese to English translator for the whole program for 15 people, including Venerable Children. And I benefited tremendously from the experience. First of all, I think I purified an incredible amount of negative karma of speech. I mean, I don't know about you, but I spent my teenage years talking on the phone a lot. Like hours and hours of blah, 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 blah about celebrities, about boys, about things of absolutely no consequence. So it was really amazing for 45 days that every time I opened my mouth for almost about 5 to 6 hours a day, the Dharma came out. Nothing but the Dharma, blah, 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 blah. I mean, not blah, blah, Dharma, 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 right? It's like, wow, how amazing is this? Yeah, that I don't think, I would ever have an experience like that again. So that was really marvelous. And the other wonderful thing was that it was simultaneous translation. And it's kind of like a guru yoga practice. I don't know if I'm using the term right, but you're trying to actually connect with the teacher's mind. It's not just about the language because you're trying to anticipate where are they going with this train of thought? What might they be saying next? Or otherwise you can't catch up. So my mind was just focused on the teacher, what they were trying to express, and it's other people's insights, right, that they have lived, and they will talk about their teacher and what they learned from their teacher. So it was like, oh wow, you get to connect with this whole lineage through this person trying to express their insights. The big trouble came though when I was not familiar with the lineage. And there was one preceptor who was teaching often from the Tian Tai school perspective. And I think the hardest day was when he said, now I'm going to tell you about the 7 definitions of the uncontrived precept body according to the Tian Tai master Ou Yi Zixu. I thought, oh no, what are we going to do? Pray, hope for the best. We got through that day somehow. But there was definitely a time where he talked about like the divisions of Buddhist teachings according to the Tian Tai school. And I was just, so lost hearing the technical terms. So I said, I can't make this up, so no translation. But fortunately, who was sitting next to me in class and who was my roommate but Venerable Tupten Chödrön. So, I mentioned this to her in the break time and she said, oh, teachings according to the Tian Tai school? Yeah, that's in volume 9, or is it volume 10? And she's like, I'll send this to you. And then she kind of pulls it up, sends me the one page. And it's exactly what the preceptor had talked about. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was also very cool, to have resources like that on hand that helped with the whole process. Another big challenge, though, when translating was when I did not necessarily agree with the express cultural or what I consider personal views of the speaker. Now, there you are connecting with the teacher and the Dharma, and then sometimes up comes a view or something they say that, well, to me sounds misogynist, right? Or in one case, the teacher actually spoke in favor of the death penalty. So I was like, I could feel this big eye come up, like, I can't say those words. I can't bring myself to even repeat what I thought I heard. So sometimes I will say, and then I thought, this is oral interpretation, not necessarily strict translation, right? And we know the audience. It's Westerners too who also share, I believe I understand some of those cultural values. So I will say sometimes I just took the liberty to adjust what was said. So, what might have been said was something like, stop behaving in these negative feminine ways. I'm like, oh, dude. I'm like, so I might try, monastics should adopt gender-neutral behaviors. That was my best try. It's the same idea, right? Or examples are like, bhikshunis do X. I'm like, hey, all bhikshus do this too. So monastics do X, yeah? So those were moments, and I would tell the people later. Although with the death penalty one, I still remember the American monk came up to me afterwards and said, was that what they really said? I'm like, yep, I'm just the translator. Yeah, I'm just telling you straight what I heard. So anyway, that's a whole big topic that I'm not going to get into. But really the greatest delight for me turned out to be translating the sharing session by all the newly ordained people. which came as a real surprise. You know, this is like the third time I've been at a full ordination, organized by the same team too. At my own ordination, they tried to have a sharing session and nobody would participate. I think we wound up getting admonished that day by the head bhikshu, like how y'all don't know how to be generous with the Dharma, because nobody wanted to share. And I don't think that was done at Venerable Seppel's ordination. Yeah, so this time, the one American monk apparently made this request saying, oh, it would be nice if there were a session where all the new fully ordained folks could share their thoughts. And the head bhikshu guide said, well, okay, I've lived in the US, and yeah, this is how Westerners like to learn, is what he put it forward as. They like to get in small groups and talk about their views. So I guess we could try and do it. And he said, okay, it'll be a good chance for the Taiwanese to practice public speaking and sharing their thoughts. And initially I thought, okay, nobody is going to share, except for, I don't know, only the Westerners are going to come up and take up all the time. That's what I thought would happen. But that did not happen. Amazingly, a lot of different Taiwanese and also Malaysian, Singaporean, I think, all came forward to share. And the sharing was just marvelous, really from the heart. It went on for almost, I think, 4 hours. Yeah, where, it was just one newly ordained person coming out after another to share their gratitude, their insights. In the middle of this, I thought, I really need to take a break to pee, but it's so good. So I kind of stuck it out and got very thirsty. Because it felt like I was assimilating all these wondrous minds of people who were so sincere and grateful and enthusiastic. Yeah. So yeah, that was just the highlight for me. So in closing, I wanted to share two things that the American monk shared that really stuck with me. And the crazy thing, or maybe not so crazy, is that he came to the Abbey before. 11 years ago, when I was in Anagarika, he was here for Young Adult Week. He was already training in the Japanese tradition. And so, 11 years later to meet again at a full ordination, I was like, oh, it's this person. Yeah, that's not an accident, I don't think. So in his sharing, he talked about, everything he had been through as a foreigner in the Japanese tradition, and then subsequently now he's also in Taiwan part of the time. And it definitely has not been an easy journey. Yeah, often he would be the one foreigner and people, have either negative, positive views, whatever. He's been through the whole gamut of that. But he said, all of us as monastics are foreigners in samsara. Oh. That was just such a beautiful point that he made. Then after that, he talked about how, often we remember the names of the great translators, like Kumarajiva or the Tang Dynasty master Xuanzang. But what we don't remember is that there were all these nameless monks and nuns who had to embrace them as the foreigner that came into this community. Right? All these monks and nuns who said, yes, you're welcome here. We're going to teach you our language. We're so happy to share with you the Dharma and all these scriptures that you can bring back. Or, we're going to teach you what they mean. And it's only because there was that embrace that the translator could function. And that just left me very touched, because often you think, oh yeah, these people are so lonely, or, oh, poor me, I'm lonely. It's like, no, of course not. There's this, common embrace for the Dharma to be able to sustain itself. Yeah. So at the end of that, that just left me thinking, no matter what, it doesn't matter where you belong and who you think you are. Yeah, because in the process of translation, I think you always feel foreign in some way. You really don't quite know which culture you belong to or who or what you are. Now I'm an American citizen, but I wasn't born and raised here, so foreign in some way. When I'm in Taiwan, I'm ethnically Chinese. I was raised in that kind of culture, but I don't live in a mono-ethnic, monolingual culture. It's very different. And then back in Singapore, I am truly a foreigner now. I don't hold a Singapore passport anymore. So I guess that I could make myself very miserable about that. But I think, from an ultimate standpoint, not knowing who you are and where you quite belong is actually a very good thing. So anyhow, I'm very, very glad to be back. Here's where I feel I belong for now, for this life. And yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and I'm very, very grateful to have had it and for all your support as well that enabled it to be possible.